Hi, I'm Amanda Miller Littlejohn of Package Academy, and today I am thrilled to be here with Joy of Consulting. Hey, Joy.
Hey, Amanda. So happy to be here. You know I love you.
Same. I really wanted to have you on today, Joy, to tell people a little bit more about your business and your journey through the academy, and our relationship and how we've kind of grown over the last few months. And also, if they have the type of business that you work with, I want them to know about your services. So before we get all into that, tell us who you are, where you live, and, what's your professional background?
Absolutely. So I am Joy Lacy, and I hail from the great city of Chicago, but I live in Houston right now. And so I've been here for 6 years. And my background, I have a pretty broad background. I like to say that I had 20 jobs, but those 20 jobs helped me get to where I am today because I learned a number of different skills. So I worked in the legal profession in the capacity of human resources, marketing, professional development, where I helped build training courses for attorneys for their continuing legal education programs. And so then that turned into a broader thing where I was building out the entire programs. And then I transitioned into education. I taught. I worked in nonprofit and kind of fell into these operations roles, but also nonprofit management. So I held some leadership positions. And I know I sound like I'm 50 years old, but I had all these jobs.
Fantastically accomplished to be so young.
So I've done a whole lot, but it's giving me the skills that I need to run my own business. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology, and then I got my master's in public administration. So always in any job that I've done have had an emphasis on people. And I never realized that until I went back and looked at my resume, and I'm like, that has to do with people. That has to do with people. And so what I do now, there's an emphasis on people and processes. So to simplify it for people, I usually say I'm an organizational development consultant. But what I do is operations, helping them put systems in place. And then there's the training component. And that can be training on anything from, effective communication, management styles, customer service, leadership development in the workplace, focusing on how the people can add value to the workplace, because a lot of people forget about that. They're like, we have a job to do, and get to, but it's like, okay, yeah. So it's like, but wait, what about the people? We have to invest in the people. And a lot of people forget about that. And so like I said, have a heavy emphasis on people and processes. And so that's what we do with Joy of Consulting.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. So tell us about, because you told us kind of how you got started and what you've done along the way, but tell us about your company, Joy of Consulting, and then your other venture, the Restaurant Girl.
Yes. So Joy of Consulting, we focus on organizational development consulting, and it's primarily working with nonprofits. We also do work with corporations and small businesses, but lately the focus has shifted to the hospitality industry, which is something that I'm very passionate about. And Amanda, you pulled that out of me. And anybody that knows me knows that I love food. And so it's very fitting for me to be in this industry because of my love for food. And so, but going into organizations and really helping them with their organizational structure from the systems that they need to put in place to the people, the training component, really making sure that everybody is on one accord. Because, you look at a lot of management structures and there's just a breakdown. You're like, one, why is this person a manager? Why are the employees unhappy? So I look at the retention rates, how to reduce the turnover in an organization, and really getting down to, making sure that employees value their employers value their employees in the workplace. And then
how that would look big in a restaurant.
Yes, exactly. So translating that to the restaurant industry, that is a whole other beast in itself. But it's so much fun to me because I literally, when I'm in a restaurant, I'm like, oh my God, like, they need to do this. Like, these people over here, they got too many cooks in the kitchen. There are 5 hostesses. Why? But no one is coming to my table. Breaking down like the layout, like that table shouldn't be in that corner. These people need some customer service training. My friends make fun of me because they're like, do they need customer service training? And I'm like, yep. See, they need to hire me. So out of Joy of Consulting was born the Restaurant Girl, which is this was brought to you by Amanda Miller Littlejohn, because you asked me about, and I don't know if you wanted me to go into that now, but
go ahead, you're there.
Yeah. So you asked me, I tell people this, and people are probably like, oh, you're like in love with Amanda. I'm like, yes, I'm like, I got a girl crush on Amanda. I'm like, she saved my life. But when you asked us in the PYG Academy class, what energizes you, I was so focused on me helping people. And you're like, what energizes you? And I was like, oh, I love helping people. I work with nonprofits, sole proprietors, small businesses. I love helping people. And you were like, no, what energizes you? And I was like, when people tell me that I did a good job. And then you were like, right. Then you're like, okay, Joy, let me ask you this way. What type of client energizes you? And so then that's when I was like, I don't know. I just, I had to think about it for a moment. And then I said, I liked when I worked with these restaurants and, got them franchise ready and turned their operations around. And you said that when you heard me talking about these restaurants, you were like, see her eyes get really big, and she was so animated. And I was like, really? Okay. And you said, why are you not focusing on restaurants? And I was like, I never really thought about that. And then when I told you I approached one of my mentors about it, I got discouraged because she's like, restaurants have a low profit margin. They're not going to pay you. And I was like, okay, dream killer.
Because you came back to the next class completely deflated. That energy that we saw before when you had your breakthrough was completely gone and just kind of muted. And so how did you kind of come out of that space of hopefulness and excitement, sharing the idea with a trusted mentor, getting your idea shot down, feeling like, this is why did I even think I could do this, to now being the restaurant girl. Right.
So what happened was literally after we had that conversation in class of where you asked me why I wasn't doing this, literally the following week was Black Restaurant Week in Houston. And there were a few people on the panel that I connected with, and they are now my mentors. And I talked to them and I said, I was kind of discouraged about entering the restaurant space. How do I do this? These are the skills that I have. And one of them was just like, this is needed. Like, what are you doing? You can totally cultivate this space and, and make sure that you have access to these resources. So he's taken me under his wing and has really helped me navigate the restaurant space. And then literally everything has just been falling into place since then. I joined a restaurant association, and then I met a guy there who he works out of Austin, but he's basically like, so how about we go through Austin and I take you around and meet some restaurants, because I love your energy. And I told him about the Restaurant Girl. He was so excited. He's like, oh my God, this is perfect. You, the big hair, the Restaurant Girl. Yeah, people would totally love you. And I was like, okay. So I was like, so no to straighten my hair? Okay. He's like, He's like, no, you have the energy and you're so animated and people will love you. And so when I told him about the Restaurant Girl, he was like, you know what? That is so genius. He said, I like Joy of Consulting, But when people hear that, they will react differently to Joy Consulting versus the restaurant girl. And we tested it out with some restaurants, and they were like, oh, I love that. So you work with restaurants and, you know, like this is what you do, versus me coming in as a regular consultant per se. You know, they really received that and it resonated with them, and they were more open to working with me versus me coming in as you know, Joy Consulting. So literally, Amanda, like things had just been falling into place. And I'm like, okay, so this is where I should be. And just my energy level is different when working with these clients, because I'm so much more into it than I am when I know I'm just working for something because I have bills, or doing some work because I know I have bills to pay. And so it's completely different. So I have made it my mission to really make sure I am seeking out the resources so that I could be successful in this industry. And, you know, from this has evolved another venture that I had told you about. We won't make that public just yet.
Not just yet. No, they have to wait.
Yeah. But yeah, so many things have just, so many doors have opened in this space since then. And I've really been received when I have reached out to people in the hospitality industry. They are really open to just talking to me and giving me tips on how to navigate the space. So that's been really helpful as well. So 2018 and the rest of 2017, I'm really looking forward to expanding my portfolio in that space.
Awesome. I think one of the things that was really critical for you, and it was kind of something I saw you do that a lot of people do, is even so that you share it with someone close. And I always talk about the importance of cultivating that safe community of people that you can share these new parts of your stuff with, because you need someone who can reinforce you and encourage you and, you know, pat you on the back and keep you going when you're feeling discouraged.
Right.
But what I found really interesting about that situation was when you shared your idea with the mentor and she came back to you and said, well, they don't have money. And then when we talked it through during office hours, and you were able to tell me, you gave me a list of clients, restaurant clients who you already helped and had already been paid by. That kind of debunked, you know, what she was saying. Because it's just so easy to take negative feedback at face value. And so sometimes you just need to kind of step back and look at the evidence instead of, you know, someone else's fears, like taking someone else's fears at face value.
Absolutely. And there are still even some days where I'm like, oh, you know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, you know, because I don't have 20 years of experience in the restaurant field. But what I do know is people, you know, and people are universal. You know, the things that I go in and do with people, it's universal. You know, you have to value your employees. Customer service is universal. So, and I have worked in the restaurant industry, and I got discouraged by one potential client because, you know, she told my mentor, oh, well, she doesn't have enough restaurant experience. He was like, okay, well, that's your loss. She can bring all of these different skills, and she told you exactly what she can do. Why would you turn that down? You don't need restaurant industry experience to focus on the people, you know, and I do have experience working in the restaurant industry, which is why I know, you know, how to somewhat navigate the space and do my job, like the operations part, because I understand the front of the house, the back of the house, all of that. But it's so easy for someone to tell you what you can't do, what you shouldn't do.
And it's almost like sometimes people are looking for someone to tell them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, tell me I can't do it, so I can.
Right. And so I was like, no, what do you mean? My dream. So I had to, you know, pick my face up, because it's easy to get discouraged. You know, someone else told me, you're going to get a lot of no's before you get yeses. And so, but those yeses are the wins. And so I have to focus on those, because there's always going to be a reason why someone doesn't want to work with you. And I'm like, they'll be back, you know, because they'll realize after you've gone through all these people that say they can do it, but really they cannot, you'll come back. You'll come back.
Or they may not be back, but guess what? There's millions of other people who
exactly
it may not be for you. And that's okay. Like, it's okay. Everybody doesn't have to love what we're doing.
Exactly.
So what made you join the Academy? And I feel like we've already heard one of your big takeaways, but what made you join? Where were you before you started? And then what were a few of the biggest things that you took from it and maybe are still using now?
So I had been watching you for, it was over a year, not in a stalkerish way.
You were stalking me.
I was watching something. Love you.
A little bit.
Told you my girl crush. I was like, yeah, that's Amanda. Do you know about Amanda? Do you know about So I have been watching you because, you know, Instagram has just tainted the coaching industry. Everybody's a coach. Everybody does this, you know, and so I was like, before I drop some money on something like this, I need to see what she's about. You know, I need to read some more testimonies. I need to see what people who have gone through the program are doing. And so I watched what you were doing over, I think it was for about a year. And then finally, you know, I said, okay, she's the one. She's the one. She's the one that's my money. Because I admire your background and, you know, your personality and just how you really invest in the personal aspect of people because people are easy to take your money and they don't care. After you're done, you're done. But you follow up. You want to see what we're doing. You know, you like our pages. You know, you like our pictures on, you know, on Facebook, whatever. But, you know, you're really invested in that people piece. And that's what's important to me because, and like I do, you know, I focus on people. So it's very important to me to have that personal touch. And so why I wanted to do the PYG Academy is because I was in a place where I knew the skills I had, but I was struggling with, you know, okay, am I reaching the right people? How do I reach the right people? How do I communicate what I do to that target audience? And so that all comes, you know, under that branding umbrella and really tapping into what makes me happy, you know, making sure that I'm really doing what makes me happy because I thought I was doing what made me happy, which is naturally just helping people, but I wasn't doing what really made me happy. And so that makes a difference when you are on that daily grind because, you know, you're out here hustling, but you're hustling and it's not really what you want to do. Yeah. You know, I'm like, dang, I don't feel like doing this either. You know, so you know, what I really got out of it, you really asked us some challenging questions about getting really to figuring out what it is you want to do. You asked those questions, you forced us to think outside of the box. And I really came up with more ways where I could brand myself. So I'm doing the Business Breakfast Talk Show now. Every Saturday morning on KLVL 1480.
That's amazing. So if you all are in the listening area, please tune in to KV. What is it? KLVL. They just switched over because now they'll be streaming on AM and FM, but basically my co-host and I, Tiffany Washington, are dishing, you know, business tips and things to help people start and run their business. So that's really aligned with what I do. And so that's one thing that I had to really discover too, you know, am I networking the right way? Am I just wasting time out here in these streets, just, you know, stumping the pavement to no end? And it's not making me any money. And so you talked about that, like, if it's not making you any money, then why are you doing it? Why are you need to think about how you're networking. And so yeah. And so you really, like I said, you really forced all of us, really, I think that we can all say the same thing. You forced us to think outside of the box and think about
what we were currently doing in our businesses and what that roadblock was. And I think also too, fear was a big thing for me. Fear of failure. It's a lot of type A personalities out there. I'm one of them.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
Failure's not fun, but
right. It's, I admit I am one. And so I just struggle with, oh my God, I don't want to fail, but sometimes you have to, because then that shows you maybe what you should or should not be doing. And so you tapped into that and like, okay, stop underselling yourself, stop having that fear of failure, because it just comes. It's a part of life. It's a part of being an entrepreneur, and so
it's a part of being really.
Yes, exactly. And so you really helped me think about that in a different perspective. And so yeah, I think the biggest piece was rebranding myself, knowing my self-worth as an entrepreneur. I think I know my self-worth as a person, but knowing my self-worth as an entrepreneur, because we all suffer from, what they call the imposter syndrome, and you got to build yourself back up and, know that you are providing a good service. Like, what I do is valuable. And if you don't think so, well, right. And if you don't think so, well, peace.
May not be my person.
Exactly. So yeah, I really enjoy the program. I enjoy that it was intimate and we really had your attention, because sometimes you do these programs and it's like, so am I going to see Amanda? Is she going to? Have you seen Amanda?
Does she know my name?
Right. I gave her my money. I want to see Amanda.
Right.
So I appreciate that, because I'm like, I want to tap into your expertise. And I mean, you have so much wisdom about the branding and just what to do as an entrepreneur in your own personal space too. Mm-hmm. And so I really appreciated that about the program.
You're such a joy to have in class.
Thank you.
When you think back on the beginning and where you were when you started, kind of what you learned through the process and where you are now, what type of person would you refer the program to, or what type of person would you say you need to be? You need to be in the academy. Like, that's what you need. Like, what are some of the things that a person that might be going through that would make you say, I
would say someone who's suffering from brand identity, because there are a lot of people that want to do 15 things, but have to narrow the scope. Right. You have to narrow the scope, and you have to, I think, figure out which one of those do you really want to do, because once something has to give, and something is going to give when you're doing too much, and so that's what I'm doing. It's related, the other thing I talked to you about, it's still related to the food industry. I'm not kind of going off on all these tangents, but staying focused, someone who really needs focus within their career, because it's not just necessarily for entrepreneurs. Some people just need focus within their career, because they may just be going down the wrong path. Because if I had
be stagnant,
because if I had seen you 6 years ago, I'd probably be much better off than I am today, because I was just in a job. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. And so a lot of people are stuck in that position. So people who need to get unstuck, people who are suffering with brand identity, also people who want to start a business but have fear about doing so. I think you really push people. It's like you get it in on the inside. It's like, dang, man, why y'all in my business? Why you all up in here?
I go deep. I've been like this my whole life. I was like, I should know that.
Check my email right quick. But you do. And I think you're really good with that, and not in an invasive way. It's very genuine. It's authentic. It's sincere, because I know you want people to really tap into their inner truth, so to speak. And so I think people who are really struggling with that, you know, startups or people who are starting a business and can't figure out which direction they want to go, people who are in existing business who are stuck and it's just not happening for them.
They're not excited about their work.
Sometimes you just have to change your state of mind, you know, your thinking. And so I think that the program is good for that. And also someone who, because I was thinking too, you know, being in professional services, well, how do I brand myself? No one could really tell me how to brand myself or how to market myself. And I was really struggling with that, because when you don't have a product, it's like, okay,
right.
Well, how do I communicate? You know, how do I compete with all the million consultants out there?
Right.
How do I make myself stand out? And so I have found a way to do that, especially it's tied into tapping into that niche too, because now I'm not like, oh, I do everything. You need help with this. You need help with it. You know, now I've narrowed my scope. And so it feels so much better.
On fire. Can you tell everyone watching where they can find you and what type of situations you can help them through? Because while you do work with restaurants, I know you do work with other businesses as well who are having issues with their systems and processes and kind of the back end piece. But where can people find out more about Joy and how to hire you, how to bring you in to do a training or to speak or to work with their organization?
Right. So I can be found at joyofconsulting.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all under Joy Consulting. And, you know, I know I showed a lot of love to the restaurants, but I love all businesses. I really do. You know, like I said before, it was hard for me to really identify what the problem is, because I do love helping everybody. And so I help people in all different industries. And usually the problems that most people come to me with is their organizational structure. And so I help people put systems in place, you know, take a look at what's not working, what is working, and, you know, how to basically maximize their full potential as a business. Because some people think, oh, well, my business is making money, I don't need help. But you could be making more money if you had some systems in place.
Tell us, what are the symptoms of not having systems in place? So for someone who may think they are fine, what are some of the clues that, you know, you need to get your systems together? You need to tighten your operations.
Well, I mean, for example, if you look at somebody's customer service, for example, okay, let's give a prime example. There is a business, they are doing very well, pulling in well over $1 million a year. However, they did not have an accounting software. So then when their systems crashed, they didn't know where their money was going, because they knew money was going in the bank, but they didn't know where their money was going. So not only do you have, and their accountant was handling everything. So I don't care if your accountant is your mother, brother, cousin, you personally need to know where your money is going, because you're doing payroll, you're paying taxes, you're paying insurance, all of these things. So, that's just a prime example. Like you have no idea where your money is going. And that's a big problem, because now that your systems have crashed, you just have no idea. And so you're in the dark. You just know there's money in the bank and you're just stuck.
What about the smaller, like the solopreneur? What would a solo enterprise business that doesn't have systems, what might they be experiencing?
Overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed, overworked. And, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to hire anybody. I'll just do it all. I'm the marketer. I'm the administrative assistant. I'm trying to do business development. I'm trying to do all these things. And what happens is you're overwhelmed, and then you end up experiencing burnout, you know, and when you experience burnout, then you can't make any money. And when you're experiencing burnout, you can't focus on bringing new clients in. So it's like you need to figure out, project management tools, for example, keeping a calendar, something as simple as just keeping a calendar. You can't remember everything. Keeping a calendar, filing the proper paperwork. There are a lot of solopreneurs out here that are working with just a DBA and their social security number. And it's like, no, please go get you a tax ID number and set up an LLC immediately, because it's going to protect you. So those are some, if people don't understand human resources, when you do start hiring people, you have no idea how to go about that. How do you recruit? How do you hire? What to look for? There need to be best practices in place. Do you have an attorney? Are the things that you're giving your potential employees, or even the documents that you're sending out to people, are they compliant? You can run into legal troubles when your contracts aren't in order, when you're not sending contracts, when you're performing work, and it could be a big mess. So those are just a few examples. I have like a journal of, I started keeping a journal because I'm like, oh, wow, this is a new problem. Like, I didn't know people
that you take for granted because you do them.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So helping people put systems in place, but then also the people aspect of what I do, which is training. There are a lot of companies that experience problems with turnover, so it's looking at, why is there a turnover? Is there a breakdown in communication with management? Are you not giving people leadership roles? Are the roles clearly defined? Are the roles and responsibilities clearly defined? Because sometimes people are just running around with their heads cut off.
Right.
You gave them a job description on day one, but then you're giving them 20 other things to do that aren't in their job description. So it's like, hello, you can't do that to people. And then you wonder why somebody's like, that's not in my job description. Well, it's not. So why are you asking me to do it?
I think of all those things you mentioned, people probably are doing at least one or two, perhaps more of them. So I think we all need to reach out to Joy. Is there an email address you can share? Just for
you can reach me at joyofconsulting.com. And that's where you can reach me. And we will be launching a new website soon, because we have also Give Joy, which is our social impact campaign that helps a limited number of entrepreneurs during the year get on their feet.
Excellent. Well, Joy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Amanda, for having me. I missed you so much.
I know. You were an absolute treat this year, and I'm so blessed to have met you and worked with you. And I'm excited to continue following your journey. So, guys, reach out to Joy. She's awesome. She can totally help you, and we'll see you later.
All right. Bye.